Live at the Clevelander Hotel on South Beach. The mayor has brought out his constituents. They are here
You see the crowd?
to hear from
You
you.
don't see this crowd?
I do.
It's special.
It's a special crowd, is
Yes,
it not?
It's not as good as San Antonio's crowd, but it's...
Shocking you'd say that, sir. Shocking. Stephen A. Smith for mayor. Skip Bayless for mayor in San Antonio. Tim Legler
I'm just a
plain old
man of the
citizen.
people.
Just a
Yeah,
man
I'm
of the
just
people.
exactly both cities.
Our Legs took a break from SportsCenter to join us, and as you saw before we went to break, you picked the Spurs.
Correct.
Let's break down Game 3 tonight and tell us more about your pick.
Well, initially it was Spurs in 7, and it's staying Spurs in 7. And the reason I went with that were a couple. First of all, I think that they were deeper. I thought they had more guys that were going to impact the series and have moments and signature moments. And I also thought Manu Ginobili is a completely different player this year in terms of health and his ability to impact the game than he was a year ago. And I thought that would ultimately be the thing that would tip it in their favor. I will say Miami made some big-time basketball X's and O's adjustments in the second game. And if that continues, and if Greg Popovich now can't figure out a way to trump what Eric Spoelstra did and how they defend pick and roll, then Miami's going to be in great shape in this series. If Popovich can't figure out now what to do, if they can't get Duncan and Splitter the ball on those dives to the rim on pick and roll, which is what dominated Game 1, Heat took that away in Game 2. They decided to make Parker Ginobili be more scorers coming off those screens, stay with the roll guy, don't give him space in the lane, and the numbers are actually pretty stark when you look at them and the production in the paint off of that.
So who wins tonight? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Miami's going to win Game 3, no question about it. Miami's going to win Game 3. When a series changed venue like this and they just got a win like that, I think the emotion in the building and the energy they're going to have defensively is going to be a little bit too much for San Antonio tonight.
Well, I mean,
Go ahead, Mayor.
well, I appreciate.
It's your show.
I'm glad you know it. I appreciate Tim Legler being as prophetic as he's being.
Whoa.
And I understand it's a little rain out there. Just a little rain, y'all. Just a little rain. It's going to be all right.
Thank you, guys.
Little stop.
We
Little shower.
appreciate
Hey,
it.
Stephen
But
A.,
it's
you realize it never rained in San Antonio.
It
You know what? It
It
needed to.
It didn't rain
It
in
needed
San
to.
Antonio.
I didn't know we were in the
It didn't
desert.
rain on my parade.
I didn't know we were in the desert. It ain't raining on this
It's just
parade.
cooling them off a
It's
little
just
bit.
cooling them off a little
That's
bit.
all.
Here's the deal. When you look at it, Tim absolutely right in terms of breaking it down. But in the end, like I just finished telling him during the break, the reason why I have it in 7, I think the Spurs are a deeper team. I think the Spurs collectively may be better, but in the end, they don't have the best player in the world. And I think it's relatively evenly matched. And then it comes down to 48 minutes of a basketball game, and you have the best player in the world on the verge of three-peating, knowing that his legacy, at least in some people's eyes who will remain nameless, will be tarnished in the event that he loses another NBA Finals. I don't think LeBron is going to let that happen. And I think that what we saw in the third quarter of Game 2 is indicative of the kind of things that are capable of taking place at particular pivotal moments in these NBA Finals. Somehow, some way, there will be moments where you will see a clear distinction between the best player in the world and everybody else.
Now, if he continues what he did in the third quarter tonight, and then in Game 4 and Game 5, there's no way the Spurs are going to win. But Tim Legler, I value your insight on this.
All right.
I'm about to make, as a Spurs supporter, something of a blasphemous statement. You mentioned Manu Ginobili. He was the reason I picked the Spurs to win in 6 because he's playing, 5 years younger than he did a year ago right now. You saw the end of Game 6 in Oklahoma City. Obviously, the whole second half, Tony Parker could not play. I loved watching the second half of that game with Manu, even Corey Joseph running the point because it was attack mode, attack, attack, attack. Tony Parker's not completely healthy right now. He doesn't have that little quicksilver burst that he used to have. So to me, if this game, let's say tonight, please God, stays close until the last 5 minutes, if I were Greg Popovich, I would go with Manu at the point, and I would not let Tony play. I would keep him on the bench because when Tony runs the point, Manu defers to him. We saw it the other night. How many shots did they wind up at the end of the clock with Manu trying to be the bailout guy? You can't play like that. You can't beat this defense like that.
I actually tend to agree with you on that point, how to close out games in this series, because Tony Parker is not. He's not the same. He's not.
No.
He just doesn't look right. He's not turning the corner.
No.
Defensively, he can't beat that one defender, that big that shows out. He can't get around him. It's obviously probably due to health. Manu Ginobili, to me, is the difference maker between the two teams as well. And that's what I said going into the series. And I think there are times when he's on the floor that he's quiet. If Manu Ginobili's on the floor right now, the ball needs to be in his hands and let him run the offense and let him be the guy that's making plays. I actually thought San Antonio got away in the second half of Game 2 from everything that was working for them for the previous 6 quarters.
I agree.
And look, Greg Popovich is going to allude to that when they watch the film, and there will be adjustments. You're going to see them, I think, focus and bear down a little bit more if they get into another situation in the second half of Game 3 that this game is tight. You're going to see them execute differently because they got away from what was working in the first 6 quarters of the series.
I'm going to tell y'all something. I disagree with y'all, and not just on my pick. I disagree with y'all about Manu Ginobili. I want Manu Ginobili on the floor. If I'm a Heat fan, I'm going to tell you why. Manu Ginobili, remember, Game 6 last year, 8 turnovers. You got to remember and keep something in mind. Even though he's not the same player and he clearly has lost weight, got himself better conditioning, he's healthy, he's playing lights out. I know that. But he's such a competitor. The one thing that y'all are missing is that the more the ball is in his hands, the more antsy he's going to get. I'm not talking nervousness. I'm talking aggression. He's going to want to do more. He's got the ball in his hands. He's going to run a team. But that's when he makes mistakes. When he plays within himself and he plays his role, he does it better than almost anybody. But when you put the additional responsibilities on his shoulders, he's like, okay, he does great things, but he also does bad things. So if I'm the Miami Heat, I'm going to live with that. Yes, he will move the basketball, but sometimes he'll look to score. Now, he will score, but he'll make mistakes along the way as well. You're sitting there talking about Tony Parker. Dribble, 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 dribble. That is true. That is true. But the flip side to it is that while he's dribbling, he's not always turning the ball over.
Right.
The ball might not be moving as well as you may like, but he's not always turning the ball over. And Manu Ginobili say he's the ultimate risk taker. He's the guy, he's the bungee jumper, is what I call it.
This is absurd.
You know, why is it absurd?
This is absurd.
Yeah, I agree.
You're afraid of Manu Ginobili.
Not at all.
Yes, you are.
Not at all.
You don't want to
Not at
see
all.
him in there.
I do.
You want to see Tony Parker dribble,
Don't tell me what I want to see. I want Manu Ginobili in the game more.
Please.
I didn't
I
stutter.
hope he is tonight.
I didn't stutter.
Yes,
I know what
you
I
did.
said.
You're slicking it up on this.
The comment you just made is true. When he,
Tell him
last year it was true when he wasn't right because he can see it, his heart wants it, but his body couldn't make it happen.
Right.
That's not this year's Manu Ginobili.
I understand that's not this year's Manu
I think
Ginobili.
he's the guy that I trust more right now if I'm Greg Popovich to decide the game.
Stephen A. Smith, what did you say 3 weeks ago? You saw a game and you said, you know what? I'm starting to lean toward picking the Heat in the finals because you told me on TV, I think LeBron James can take Tony Parker out of the game. What happened down the stretch in Game 2?
Right.
He just took him out of the game.
Right. But wait a minute.
Okay, you know what? He can't take Manu
Yes, he
completely
can.
out of the game.
That's the one thing I want to add. I said Tony Parker because that's who's playing. But I firmly believe LeBron could do the same thing to Manu Ginobili.
Let's talk about the Knicks and Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher, according to Yahoo Sports, received a 5-year, $25 million deal. A press conference within the next hour or so is expected to get the particulars, introduce Derek Fisher. And Legs, we want your expertise on this. A good fit?
I think so. Look, I said it probably 3 or 4 years ago about Derek Fisher. Very rarely do I see a player, if I've played against a player, competed with, or known a player that I thought was more tailor-made to be an NBA head coach. Derek Fisher has the toughness, he has the communication skills, he has the respect of the guys in that locker room because of the number of championship teams that he played on. He has dealt with every type of personality imaginable, including Kobe Bryant, one of the few guys that Kobe actually befriended as a Laker teammate.
Sure.
So I knew it was a matter of time. You know, people are looking at the deal saying 5 years, $25 million for a guy that never coached before. It's the New York Knicks. You have to give a guy that coaches the New York Knicks that type of contract. And I actually believe that Derek Fisher is going to be a great head coach. Not a good head coach, a great head coach.
Wow. Why?
And I'll be very surprised if we're sitting.
Got $7 million a year over 5 years to coach and be president of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons. I am happy to see that a black dude actually got some of those numbers as well. Derek Fisher being the head coach of the New York Knicks, it needed to happen. I knew weeks ago, as I reported weeks ago, once Steve Kerr took the Golden State job, it was a foregone conclusion that Derek Fisher was going to be the coach of the New York Knicks. I spoke to him in Oklahoma City. He was interested in being the coach of the New York Knicks. He's interested in working for his former coach, Phil Jackson. He will allow Phil Jackson to assemble the coaching staff and everything else. He has no problem learning under Phil Jackson, and Phil Jackson's going to be running training camp as the coach, really schooling and tutoring Derek Fisher. So this is not news. The news to me is the money Derek Fisher got, because what they did was look at the landscape. You have to remember that Mark Jackson, who was coaching the Golden State Warriors and did an exceptional job doing so, his average salary was $2 million.
Okay.
Kerr got double that.
Yeah.
Stan Van Gundy damn near got quadruple that. So I needed to see somebody like Derek Fisher get this amount of money. The only other thing that I would like to add is all the old school coaches out there, their days are numbered. Because you're seeing young coaches get hired, people moving in a different direction, bringing on guys who have limited experience, relatively younger. It's a new day, a new age in the world of the NBA. And my condolences to those old school NBA coaches, because a lot of them are going to find themselves without head coaching jobs, because clearly the game is moving in a different direction.
I applaud everything you just said. I appreciate it. I also agree with what Tim Legler said. I'll just go this far. Derek Fisher will prove to be a much better head coach in the NBA than Steve Kerr will. Now, I know Steve a little bit. I know Derek vaguely. But I've watched them closely their whole careers. I'm not sure Steve Kerr has that edge that you need to command an NBA locker room. He is the nicest man in the world. But I don't know if that translates into being a great NBA coach. Maybe a college coach, I don't know. Now, neither of them have coached a single dribble in their lives. So we're all guessing here. But with Derek Fisher, I am so with you. When I watch him even speak on camera, I believe every word he says. When he's on the floor, he takes and made big shots. Even in this last series against the Spurs, he was driving me crazy. This man has guts. He has courage, he has big backbone, and he has big credentials because he's been there and done that